You think I won't arrest you right here? Marcus Yale doesn't flinch. He's standing in a courthouse hallway, folder in hand, 3 feet from a man in a black robe. The man's face is flushed, anger barely contained beneath a veneer of judicial authority. Your Honor, I'm just asking for clarification on the procedural. I don't care what you're asking for. Judge Callan Reed steps closer, closing the distance until Marcus can smell the coffee on his breath. His voice drops to a harsh whisper, the kind that carries menace precisely because it's quiet. You walk into my courtroom, you follow my rules. You understand me? You don't like it? There's a cell downstairs with your name on it. We can arrange that right now. Marcus keeps his hands visible at his sides, fingers relaxed but ready. Old training never quite leaves you. He doesn't step back. That would signal weakness. But he doesn't lean forward either. Just holds his ground, maintaining eye contact without aggression, respectful distance, neutral posture. I understand, Your Honor. Reed's eyes narrow, studying him like a specimen under glass. He's waiting for something, a challenge maybe, or complete submission. Marcus gives him neither. Just steady eye contact and the bearing of someone who knows how to stand at attention without actually coming to attention. Reed holds the stare for another 3 seconds. Then he turns sharply, his robe swirling with the movement, and walks away. His dress shoes click against the marble floor, each step echoing down the long corridor. The sound fades as he rounds a corner and disappears from view. Marcus stands there, unmoving, for another 10 seconds. Then he exhales slowly through his nose, a controlled release of tension he didn't know he was holding. His shoulder aches where the bailiff grabbed him earlier. He rolls it gently, testing the joint. Full range of motion. Just bruised, not damaged. What Reed doesn't know, what he can't know from looking at a man in business casual clothes holding a manila folder, is that Marcus isn't some random defendant who stumbled into traffic court unprepared. Marcus Yale is a former Marine sergeant with 2 combat deployments and a spotless service record. He holds a secret security clearance for his work coordinating supply chains for a Department of Defense contractor. He's fluent in military regulations, chain of command procedures, and the art of navigating bureaucratic systems that would break most civilians. And the traffic ticket Reed just threatened him over? It's about to unravel a pattern of judicial misconduct spanning 5 years, affecting dozens of defendants, disproportionately targeting people who look like Marcus. But Reed doesn't know any of that yet, and by the time he finds out, it'll be far too late to take back the mistakes he's making right now. Marcus walks slowly toward the exit, his footsteps measured and deliberate. He passes other courtrooms, closed doors with narrow windows, muffled voices inside discussing plea bargains and sentencing guidelines. He passes attorneys in expensive suits, huddling with clients in cheap clothes. He passes a young mother trying to quiet a crying baby while reading a summons she clearly doesn't understand. The courthouse is a machine that processes people. Most go in one end and come out the other with fines, probation, or jail time. Very few fight back. Fewer still win. Marcus intends to be one of the few. He reaches the main entrance, pushes through the heavy glass doors, and steps into the morning sun. It's bright enough that he has to squint. He stands on the courthouse steps for a moment, letting his eyes adjust, feeling the warmth on his face. Then he descends the steps and walks toward his car, parked 3 blocks away in a metered lot. He's already planning his next move. 6 weeks earlier, everything was routine. October 14th, Tuesday morning, 6:28 a.m. Marcus is in the driveway of his apartment building, checking the oil in his 10-year-old Honda Accord. The car has been running rough lately. There's a slight hesitation when he accelerates from a stop, and a faint ticking sound at idle that worries him. He suspects it might be a lifter issue, but before he takes it to a mechanic and pays diagnostic fees, he's doing the basic checks himself. Oil level first. The neighborhood is quiet at this hour. His apartment complex is modest, 12 units in a 2-story building, built in the 80s, maintained adequately but not luxuriously. The parking lot is half full. Most of his neighbors are still asleep or just waking up to get ready for work. Marcus has lived here 4 years. He knows maybe 3 neighbors by name, exchanges nods with a few more. He's not antisocial, just private. Old habits from the military, where you learned early that the less people knew about you, the less they could use against you. He pulls the dipstick from the engine, wipes it clean with a red shop rag he keeps in the trunk, then inserts it back into the tube and pulls it out again. The oil level sits just below the full mark, about half a quart low, not critical but worth addressing. He makes a mental note to pick up a quart of synthetic blend after work. He closes the hood with a controlled motion, careful not to slam it. Everything Marcus does has this quality: controlled, precise, economical. No wasted motion. You with the car. What are you doing? The voice is sharp and carries authority in a way that's designed to make you stop whatever you're doing and pay attention. Marcus recognizes the tone immediately. It's the voice of someone used to being obeyed without question. He turns slowly, keeping his movements non-threatening. 2 patrol cars are parked at angles in the street, blocking the driveway exit. Both have their engines running, but no lights flashing. 2 officers stand about 10 feet away. The one who spoke is white, early 40s, with a thick build going soft around the middle, the physique of someone who was once in good shape but has let it slide. His nameplate reads, Pellat. The second officer is younger, maybe late 20s, Hispanic, with a lean runner's build. He hangs back a half step, his right hand resting casually near his belt in a position that looks relaxed but provides quick access to his weapon if needed. His nameplate reads, Martinez. Good morning, officers. Marcus keeps his voice even, respectful without being obsequious. Just checking my oil. Car's been running a little rough. Platt doesn't respond immediately. His eyes move over Marcus in a systematic scan: face, hands, torso, waistband, shoes, then back up. Then he looks at the Honda, taking in the model year, the condition, the registration sticker on the windshield, then at the apartment building behind Marcus, assessing it. Finally back to Marcus. This your vehicle? Yes, sir. You live here? Platt gestures toward the building with his chin. Yes, sir. Unit 7, 2nd floor. Uh-huh. Platt takes a step closer, closing the distance to about 7 feet. Still outside the range where it would feel immediately threatening, but close enough to establish dominance of the space. We got a call about 30 minutes ago. Suspicious person working on a car. Caller thought maybe you were trying to steal it. Marcus processes this information. He's standing in his own driveway in front of his own apartment building, working on his own car at 6:30 in the morning. He's wearing gym shorts, a plain gray t-shirt, and running shoes. He has a red shop rag in his hand and oil on his fingers. Nothing about this scenario suggests car theft to any reasonable observer. I understand, sir, but this is my car, and that's my apartment. He gestures toward his unit with his free hand, keeping the movement slow and clear. I was just doing some basic maintenance before I head out for my morning run. Mm-hmm. Platt's expression doesn't change. I'm sure that's true, but we still need to verify. Let me see some ID. Marcus nods. It's in my wallet, back right pocket. I'm going to reach for it now. Slowly. Marcus reaches back with his right hand, maintaining eye contact with Platt. He pulls out his wallet, a simple black leather bifold worn at the edges, and extracts his driver's license. He hands it over, keeping his other hand visible at his side. Platt takes the license without thanks. He examines it closely, tilting it to catch the light, checking the hologram, comparing the photo to Marcus's face. He's taking his time with this, making a show of thoroughness. Marcus has seen this before. It's a dominance display, a way of establishing who controls the interaction. The message is clear. I decide when this is over, not you. Marcus Donnell Yale. Platt reads the name aloud, his pronunciation careful and deliberate. Address matches. Date of birth makes you 41 years old. That right? Yes, sir. And you say you work? The phrasing is interesting. Not where do you work or what do you do, but you say you work, as if employment is a claim that needs verification. Yes, sir. I work from home, remote position. Doing what? Logistics coordination for a defense contractor. Platt's eyebrows rise slightly at this. Defense contractor, which one? Marcus hesitates. His employer's name isn't classified, but something about this interaction makes him cautious about providing more information than legally required. Still, refusing to answer would escalate things unnecessarily. Sentinel Supply Solutions. We coordinate procurement and distribution for military installations. Uh-huh. Platt hands the license to Martinez without taking his eyes off Marcus. Martinez walks back toward the patrol car, speaking quietly into his radio. And you work from home. So you're up at 6:30 doing what exactly? I run every morning before work, 4 miles. Then I shower, have breakfast, and start work around 7:30 or 8. Every morning? Most mornings, yes, sir. Rain or shine? Usually, yes. Platt crosses his arms, his posture shifting into something more skeptical. That's pretty dedicated. Most people I know don't even like getting out of bed that early, let alone going for a run. Marcus doesn't respond to this. It's not really a question, and anything he says will sound like he's trying to justify his lifestyle choices to a stranger who has no authority over them. Martinez returns, hands the license back to Platt, and murmurs something too quiet for Marcus to hear. Platt nods, then looks back at Marcus. All right, Mr. Yale, you're clean, no warrants, no priors. Vehicle registration is current. He hands the license back, but he doesn't step back or signal that the interaction is over. But I want you to understand something. We got a call. Someone in this neighborhood saw you out here and thought something was wrong. Now, maybe they were mistaken. Maybe they're just not used to seeing someone working on their car this early. But from our perspective, we have to respond to every call. You understand that, right? Yes, sir. I understand you have a job to do. Good. So here's what I'm going to suggest. Platt's tone shifts slightly, becoming almost paternal. Next time you need to do maintenance on your vehicle, maybe do it during regular business hours. 10 a.m., noon, 2 p.m. Times when people are awake and it doesn't look suspicious. That way we don't get calls. You don't get bothered. Everybody's happy. Make sense? Marcus considers his response carefully. What Platt is suggesting isn't a lawful order. Marcus has every right to work on his car at 6:30 in the morning in his own driveway. But pointing that out right now would escalate an interaction that's already tense. And the reality is that Platt has the power to make Marcus's life difficult if he chooses to. He could write Marcus up for some minor code violation, or start running his plates every time he sees the Honda on the street, or find any number of pretexts to keep bothering him. I understand what you're saying, officer. I'll keep that in mind. Good man. Platt nods, apparently satisfied. You have a good day now, Mr. Yale. Stay out of trouble. The two officers walk back to their patrol cars. They don't hurry. They move with the casual confidence of people who know they control the situation. Engines start. Both cars pull away slowly, deliberately, making it clear they're leaving on their own timeline, not because Marcus wants them to go. Marcus stands in his driveway, driver's license still in his hand, watching the patrol cars disappear around the corner. The entire interaction lasted maybe 8 minutes. On the surface, nothing happened. No arrest, no citation, no physical confrontation, just a conversation. Two officers doing their job, responding to a call, checking things out, then moving on. But Marcus knows better. He knows exactly what just happened. He goes inside his apartment, locks the door behind him, and walks straight to the bathroom. His hands are shaking, not violently, just a fine tremor that makes his fingers twitch. He turns on the cold water, washes his hands thoroughly, scrubbing the oil from his fingers and under his nails. Then he cups his hands under the stream and splashes cold water on his face, feeling it shock his system, bringing his heart rate back down. He looks at himself in the mirror. Same face he sees every morning. Dark brown skin, close-cropped hair starting to show gray at the temples, strong jawline, eyes that don't give much away. He looks calm, controlled, professional. But inside, he's angry. Not the hot, explosive anger that makes you punch walls or throw things. This is the cold, calculating anger that comes from being treated like a criminal for the offense of existing in your own driveway. The anger that comes from having to carefully calculate every word and gesture because you know that one wrong move could result in handcuffs or worse. The anger that comes from being 41 years old with a spotless record and a security clearance and still having to say yes sir and no sir to someone who treats you like a suspect. Marcus takes 3 deep breaths, in through the nose, out through the mouth, counting to 5 each time. Old technique from the service. Works every time. By the 3rd breath, his hands have stopped shaking. He dries his face with a towel, walks to his bedroom, and gets ready for his run. Changes into proper running gear. Moisture-wicking shirt, running shorts, good shoes. Straps on his fitness watch. Grabs his keys and phone. At 6:45, he goes out for his run. Same route he always takes. 4 miles around the lake, counterclockwise, steady pace. He doesn't think about the officers. He doesn't think about the interaction. He just runs, focusing on his breathing, on the rhythm of his feet hitting pavement, on the burn in his muscles. By the time he gets back to his apartment at 7:35, he's sweating and exhausted and calm. He showers, makes coffee, eats a quick breakfast, and logs into his first meeting of the day at 7:55. He acts completely normal, takes notes, contributes when asked. Nobody on the video call notices anything wrong, but something has changed. A small crack has appeared in the foundation of Marcus's carefully ordered life. He doesn't know it yet, but this morning's interaction is just the beginning of something much larger. A pattern is starting to reveal itself, one interaction at a time, like tiles slowly forming a mosaic that you can't quite see until you step back far enough to take in the whole picture. And Marcus Yale is very good at seeing patterns. 2 weeks pass without incident. Marcus adjusts his routine in small ways. He doesn't check his oil in the driveway anymore. Instead, he goes to a local auto shop on Saturday mornings, pulls into the service bay, and lets the attendant check it for him. Costs $12, takes 5 minutes. It's inefficient and unnecessary, but it's easier than dealing with another confrontation. He notices patrol cars more now. Before, they were just part of the background noise of the neighborhood. Vehicles that drove by occasionally, doing their job. Nothing to pay attention to. Now he tracks them, watches their routes, notes the times they appear. Morning patrol, 7:15, 7:45, 8:10. Evening patrol, 6:30, 7:20, 8:45. It's not a rigid schedule, but there's definitely a pattern. He starts keeping a log in a small notebook. Dates, times, vehicle numbers when he can see them clearly enough. He doesn't know why he's doing this. It's not paranoia exactly. More like preparation. Like checking your 6 in a combat zone. You might not see the enemy, but you know they're out there, so you stay alert. When he drives, he's more careful than he's ever been. Turn signal 5 seconds before every turn, not just the legally required 3. Checks his mirrors constantly. Keeps his speed exactly at the posted limit, not 1 mile over, not 2 miles under, right on the number. Hands at 10 and 2 whenever he sees a patrol car, even though he knows modern driving instruction recommends 9 and 3. The old position looks more respectful, more careful, more like someone who's not a threat. He's not afraid. Marcus Yale doesn't do fear. The Marine Corps trained that out of him years ago, replacing it with something more useful, tactical awareness. But he is cautious, because caution keeps you alive. October 28th. Tuesday morning, 7:42 a.m. Marcus is eastbound on State Road 50, heading to a client meeting on the other side of town. It's a supply chain audit for a mid-sized defense contractor that's bidding on a new logistics contract with the Air Force. Routine work, but important. These audits determine whether companies get lucrative government contracts or get shut out of the bidding process. Marcus has done dozens of them. He knows the protocol, knows the questions to ask, knows how to spot red flags in inventory management systems. He's dressed business casual, light blue button-down shirt, pressed khaki pants, leather belt, polished brown shoes. His laptop bag sits on the passenger seat beside him, containing his computer, a portable scanner, a digital voice recorder, and several notepads. He's prepared, professional, ready to do his job. Traffic is light this morning. 2 lanes, dry pavement, clear visibility, no weather issues. The road is straight for about a mile, then curves gently to the left as it passes through a commercial district. Ahead, Marcus can see orange construction cones narrowing the road. The right lane is closed for roadwork, funneling all traffic into the left lane. Marcus sees the merge point coming from 300 feet out. He's traveling at exactly 50 miles per hour, the posted speed limit. No other vehicles are visible in his mirrors. The nearest car behind him is at least 500 feet back, maybe more. He activates his turn signal, the amber light blinking steadily, and counts in his head. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi. Then he checks his driver's side mirror. Clear. Checks his blind spot with a quick head turn. Clear. Checks the road ahead. Clear. And merges smoothly into the left lane, maintaining his speed, keeping his movements gradual and predictable. 30 seconds later, his rearview mirror lights up with red and blue. Marcus's heart rate spikes immediately. Pure adrenaline response. Fight or flight kicking in before his conscious mind has even processed what's happening. But his training overrides his biology. His hands don't jerk the wheel. His foot doesn't slam the brake. Instead, he activates his turn signal again, checks his mirrors to make sure the shoulder is clear, and gradually reduces speed as he guides the car onto the right shoulder, well past the construction zone. He shifts into park, turns off the radio, places both hands on the steering wheel at 10 and 2, clearly visible, takes 3 deep breaths to slow his heart rate, keeps his eyes forward, not looking back at the officer approaching. The patrol car sits behind him for almost 2 minutes before anyone gets out. Marcus knows what's happening. The officer is running his plates, checking for warrants, reviewing his registration status, maybe calling in his location to dispatch. Standard procedure. Marcus keeps his hands visible and waits. Finally, he sees movement in his passenger side mirror. The officer is approaching from the passenger side. Smart tactics, keeps them away from traffic, gives them a better angle to observe the interior of the vehicle. Marcus keeps his hands still, doesn't turn his head to watch the approach. The officer appears at his window, leans down slightly to peer inside. It's Platt, same officer from 2 weeks ago. Their eyes meet through the window. For just a fraction of a second, Marcus sees something in Platt's expression. Recognition, maybe, or satisfaction, or something else Marcus can't quite identify. Then Platt's face goes neutral, professional, giving nothing away. License and registration. Marcus has them ready. Marcus has them. He learned this years ago, first time he got pulled over when he was 19. Have your documents ready before the officer asks for them. Reduce the time they feel uncertain about what you're doing. Minimize the chances of a misunderstanding. His license is in the sun visor clip. Registration and insurance card are in the glove box. He pulled them out during the 2 minutes while Platt was running his plates. They're right here on the passenger seat, officer. Marcus speaks clearly, no sudden movements. I'm going to reach over and hand them to you. Go ahead. Marcus releases his right hand from the wheel, reaches across his body slowly, picks up the documents, and hands them through the window. Platt takes them without comment. Platt examines the license closely, even though he clearly recognizes Marcus from their previous interaction. He flips the registration card over, reads the back, studies the insurance card. Takes his time with all of it. It's another dominance display, another way of establishing control. I move at my pace, not yours. Do you know why I pulled you over, Mr. Yale? The question is a trap. If Marcus says no, he sounds unaware and possibly defensive. If he says yes, he's admitting to a violation before Platt has even explained what he thinks the violation was. Marcus chooses the safer option. No, sir. Failure to signal. I observed your vehicle make an abrupt lane change without signaling. Marcus's stomach drops. The accusation is simply false. He signaled clearly, counted to 5, checked his mirrors and blind spot, executed the lane change smoothly and gradually. There was nothing abrupt about it, and he definitely signaled. But pointing this out right now, in this moment, while Platt is standing at his window with his license and registration in hand, feels dangerous. Still, Marcus can't just agree to something that didn't happen, so he chooses his words carefully. "I did signal, sir. I counted 5 seconds before merging." Platt's expression shifts, not dramatically, just a slight tightening around the eyes, a subtle hardening of his jawline. "You counted?" "Yes, sir." 5 seconds." "Yes, sir. I always count to make sure I signal long enough." Platt's eyes narrow fractionally. "Well, I'm telling you that you didn't signal. Maybe you think you did, but from my position, I didn't see any signal. And I've been doing this job long enough to know what I saw." Marcus doesn't respond. There's no good response. Arguing will escalate things. Agreeing means accepting a false accusation. Silence is the safest option. "Sit tight. I'll be right back." Platt walks back to his patrol car with Marcus's documents. Marcus watches in the rearview mirror as Platt slides into the driver's seat, door still open, and starts writing something. The dash cam is clearly visible, a small black box mounted to the center of the windshield, a red LED blinking to indicate it's recording. Marcus makes a mental note of that. Dash cam footage. That could be important later. 7 minutes pass. Cars drive by on the left, slowing down to look, drivers craning their necks to see what's happening. Some young white guy in a BMW doesn't even try to hide his staring. He actually slows down to maybe 30 miles per hour, looks directly at Marcus, then speeds up and drives away. Marcus wonders what that driver is thinking. Probably nothing good. A semi-truck rumbles past, close enough that Marcus's car rocks slightly in the turbulence. Then a sedan, then a pickup. Each driver looks. Each driver sees a black man pulled over on the side of the road. Each driver makes assumptions. Marcus keeps his hands visible on the steering wheel, doesn't reach for his phone, doesn't adjust the radio, doesn't do anything that could be misinterpreted through a rearview mirror from 80 feet away. Finally, Platt returns. He's holding a yellow slip of paper, a traffic citation. "Step out of the vehicle, Mr. Yale." Marcus's pulse jumps again. This is wrong. You don't need someone to step out for a traffic citation. You just hand them the ticket, explain their options, and send them on their way. Asking him to step out means something else is happening. "Sir?" Marcus keeps his voice neutral, not challenging, just seeking clarification. "I said step out of the vehicle." Platt's tone has hardened. "Now please." Marcus unbuckles his seatbelt slowly, reaches for the door handle and opens the door. He steps out carefully, keeping his movements smooth and predictable. He's 6 feet tall, 190 pounds, in good shape but not intimidating. He positions himself next to his car, hands visible at his sides, not in pockets, not crossed, just hanging naturally. Platt is standing about 4 feet back from the car, positioned so he has a clear line of sight to Marcus and the interior of the vehicle. His right hand rests on his belt, not on his weapon exactly, but close, thumb hooked on his belt, fingers near the grip of his service pistol. It's a ready position, casual enough to not look threatening, but prepared enough to draw quickly if needed. "You got a problem with authority, Mr. Yale?" The question comes out of nowhere, hitting Marcus like a verbal slap. He genuinely doesn't understand what Platt is asking or why. "No, sir, I don't." "Then why are you arguing with me?" "I'm not arguing, sir. I'm just—" "You told me I was wrong." Platt cuts him off, his voice sharp. "I said you didn't signal. You said you did. That's arguing. That's you telling me I don't know how to do my job." Marcus stops talking. This is spiraling, and he doesn't know how to de-escalate it without simply capitulating to a false accusation. But capitulating feels wrong. It feels like surrendering something fundamental, some core piece of his dignity that he's not willing to give up. Platt steps closer, now only 2 feet away, inside Marcus's personal space. His voice drops lower, quieter, but somehow more threatening because of it. "Let me explain something to you. I've been a patrol officer for 12 years. I've written thousands of tickets. I know traffic law inside and out, and I know what I saw. You changed lanes without signaling. That's a violation of Florida Statute 316.155. I'm citing you for it. Now you have two choices. You can accept this citation, sign it, and we both go about our day. Or you can keep arguing with me, in which case I'm going to start looking real carefully at your vehicle. Check your registration tags, your inspection sticker, your tire tread depth, your brake lights, your turn signals. See if maybe there's a mechanical issue that explains why I didn't see a signal. Might take 30-45 minutes. Might find other violations. You understand what I'm saying? Marcus understands perfectly. It's a threat. Sign the citation and leave, or resist and face an extended roadside inspection that will almost certainly result in additional citations, whether legitimate or fabricated. He has a meeting in 40 minutes. He can't afford to be delayed for an hour. And more importantly, he recognizes that Platt has already decided how this encounter will end. There's no winning this argument on the side of the road. I understand, sir. Platt's expression softens fractionally. Not friendliness, but satisfaction. He hands Marcus the citation along with his license and registration. Sign at the bottom. It's not an admission of guilt, just an acknowledgement that you received the citation. Marcus takes the paperwork, rests the citation against his car's hood, and signs with the pen Platt provides. His signature is steady. He hands everything back except his license and registration. Platt tears off the yellow copy and hands it to Marcus. Court date is November 21st, 9 a.m., Courtroom 3B. You can contest it if you want. His tone shifts slightly, becoming almost conversational, almost friendly. But between you and me, I'd just pay the fine, save yourself the hassle. Traffic court judges always side with the officer. Always. It's just how the system works. $250, you pay it online, whole thing goes away. Lot easier than taking a day off work to argue about whether you signaled or not. Marcus takes the citation, folds it carefully without looking at it, and puts it in his shirt pocket along with his license and registration. Drive safe now, Mr. Yale. Platt walks back to his patrol car, gets in, but doesn't pull away immediately. He just sits there, watching, as Marcus gets back in his Honda, starts the engine, checks his mirrors obsessively, activates his turn signal, and carefully merges back into traffic. Only after Marcus is 100 yards down the road does Platt pull out and drive away in the opposite direction. Marcus makes it to his meeting 13 minutes late. He apologizes, blames traffic, doesn't mention the citation. He conducts the audit professionally, asks the right questions, takes thorough notes, completes his work efficiently. Nobody notices anything wrong. But inside, Marcus is already planning his next move. That evening, after work, Marcus sits at his kitchen table. The citation is laid flat in front of him, smoothed out carefully to remove the creases from when he folded it. He reads it multiple times, examining every word, every code number, every instruction. Uniform traffic citation, citation number 2024 CV 08837. Violation, failure to signal lane. Change statute, Florida Statute 316.1555. Fine, $250. Court date, November 21st, 2024, 09:00 a.m. Location, County Court, Traffic Division, Courtroom 3B. Issuing Officer M. Platt, badge number 3847. At the bottom, in small print, is the text of the relevant statute. Florida Statute 316.155(1)(a). No person shall turn a vehicle from a direct course or move right or left upon a roadway unless and until such movement can be made with reasonable safety, and then only after giving an appropriate signal in the manner provided herein. Marcus opens his laptop and pulls up the complete text of the statute. He reads it carefully, paying attention to every word, every comma, every conditional phrase. One phrase in particular catches his attention: when any other traffic may be affected. He reads that phrase again and again. It's not just, "You must signal before turning or changing lanes." It's, "You must signal when such movement would affect other traffic." Marcus thinks back to the lane change. No other vehicles within at least 300 feet. Empty road behind him. The nearest car was so far back it was barely visible. Even if he hadn't signaled, which he did, who would have been affected? There was no other traffic to affect. He opens a new browser tab and searches. Florida Public Records request traffic stop video. He finds a form on the county sheriff's website, downloads it, fills it out carefully. Records. Requested. Dash cam footage and incident report for traffic stop conducted by Officer M.
Plat. Badge number 3847 on October 28, 2024 at approximately 7:42 a.m. State Road 50 eastbound near mile marker 14. Involving vehicle, Florida license plate, his plate number. Driver, Marcus Yale. Purpose: personal records for potential court proceeding. Fee: he checks the fee schedule. $15 for the report, $25 for video footage if it exists. $40 total. He submits the request online, paying with his credit card. Gets an automated confirmation email with a tracking number. Processing time: 10 to 15 business days. Then he sits back and looks at the citation again. $250. He can afford to pay it. It wouldn't even strain his budget particularly. But it's not about the money. It's about the principle.
Platt pulled him over for something he didn't do.
Platt accused him falsely. Platt threatened him when he tried to explain. And now Platt expects him to just pay the fine and accept the lie? Marcus thinks about Platt's words. Traffic court judges always side with the officer. Always. Maybe that's true. Probably is true. But Marcus spent 8 years in the Marine Corps learning that sometimes you have to stand up for what's right, even when the odds are against you. Especially when the odds are against you. He opens the citation one more time. At the bottom are 2 checkboxes. Guilty. I admit the violation and will pay the fine. Not guilty. I contest the violation and request a hearing. Marcus picks up a pen.
He hovers over the guilty box for just a moment, considering the easier path. Then he moves the pen to the second box, presses down firmly, and makes a clear, dark X. He signs his name, dates it, puts the citation in an envelope along with a check for the required filing fee, addresses it to the clerk of court, traffic division. The next morning, he takes it to the post office and sends it certified mail with return receipt requested. The postal clerk gives him a tracking number. He saves it in a new spreadsheet on his laptop, labeled simply, Legal, Traffic 2024. Marcus Yale has just made a decision that will change his life, though he doesn't know it yet. He thinks he's fighting a traffic ticket. He has no idea he's about to uncover something much bigger. 3 weeks pass in a kind of suspended tension. Marcus checks his mailbox every day, sometimes twice a day, looking for the hearing notice that should have arrived by now. He checks his email obsessively, refreshing the inbox every few hours in case the court sends electronic notifications. Nothing comes. The silence from the courthouse is complete and somehow more unnerving than any official correspondence would be. His daily routine continues unchanged on the surface. He wakes at 5:30, runs his 4 miles around the lake, showers, makes coffee, logs into work by 7:30. He attends his virtual meetings, coordinates supply chain logistics for military installations across 3 continents, reviews procurement documentation, files reports. To anyone watching his video feed during meetings, he appears completely normal, professional, focused, competent. But underneath, his mind is elsewhere. He keeps thinking about the hearing, about Judge Reed's dismissive tone, about Bailiff Voss watching him walk out of the courtroom. He keeps replaying the moment when Reed refused to even look at the video evidence, when Reed accused him of thinking he was smarter than everyone else, when Reed threatened him with contempt for the crime of citing statutory law. Marcus has been threatened before. He spent 8 years in the Marine Corps, did 2 deployments in places where actual enemies with actual weapons wanted him actually dead. He knows what real danger feels like. This isn't that, but it's something. It's the particular threat that comes from institutional power wielded arbitrarily by someone who faces no consequences for abusing it. On November 18th, Marcus decides he's waited long enough. It's 2 p.m. He's between meetings, sitting at his home office desk with his case file spread out in front of him. The citation is there, the not guilty plea he mailed certified 3 weeks ago, the tracking receipt showing delivery on November 1st at 9:42 in the morning. Everything documented. Everything by the book. He picks up his phone and dials the number printed on the citation for the Traffic Division clerk's office. The phone rings 4 times. Marcus counts them. On the 5th ring, someone picks up. Traffic Division, Simone speaking. The voice is tired, flat, carrying the exhausted patience of someone who's answered this phone 10,000 times and knows the next call will be just like the last one. Marcus keeps his voice professional and neutral. Good afternoon, my name is Marcus Yale. I'm calling about citation number 2024 CV08837. I submitted a not guilty plea on October 30th, sent it certified mail. I haven't received a hearing date yet, and I wanted to confirm it was received and processed. There's a pause on the other end. He hears the clatter of typing, keys clicking rapidly in that distinctive rhythm of someone who's been doing data entry for years and no longer has to think about where the letters are. The typing stops. More silence. Then the typing resumes, faster this time, more aggressive, like whoever's on the other end is searching multiple databases and getting increasingly frustrated with what they're finding. Finally, hold on, let me pull that up. The typing continues. Another long pause. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything in the system under that case number. Marcus feels his stomach tighten. He opens his email, searches for the certified mail receipt, pulls it up on his screen. The tracking information is right there in front of him, clear and indisputable. I have the tracking number right here. The envelope was delivered to your office on November 1st at 9:42 in the morning. Someone at your office signed for it. The signature is on the receipt. The woman's tone doesn't change. It's not hostile, not helpful, just utterly neutral, the voice of bureaucratic indifference. Well, if it's not in the system, we didn't receive it. Or we received it, but it hasn't been processed yet. Things get backed up sometimes, especially this time of year. Marcus writes this down in the notebook he keeps next to his computer. Date, time, name of person he spoke to, exact words used. Documentation, always document. How long does processing usually take? Could be a few weeks, could be longer. We're pretty busy right now. I understand you're busy, Marcus says, keeping his tone even and reasonable. But I sent this 3 weeks ago. The court date printed on my citation is November 21st. That's 3 days from now. If I don't have a hearing scheduled by then, what happens? If you don't have a hearing scheduled, you need to pay the fine. Otherwise, there'll be a warrant issued for failure to appear. The logic is so circular, it's almost impressive. Marcus didn't appear because they never scheduled a hearing, but their solution is for him to accept guilt and pay the fine for something he didn't do, or face arrest. He doesn't point out the absurdity. That wouldn't help. I'd like to avoid that situation. What do you recommend I do? Resubmit your not guilty plea. Bring it in person this time so there's no confusion about whether we received it. Marcus writes this down too. Notes the implicit accusation that somehow he's the one who caused the confusion, not the court system that lost or ignored his properly mailed, properly tracked, properly delivered, certified letter. All right, can I bring it in this afternoon? We're open until 4. Thank you, I'll be there within the hour. He hangs up before she can respond. Immediately opens a new document on his laptop and types out a fresh, not guilty plea, using the exact same format as the original. He prints 2 copies, one for them, one for his records. Grabs his keys, wallet, and the folder containing all his documentation. Leaves his apartment within 5 minutes. The drive to the courthouse takes 22 minutes in afternoon traffic. Marcus parks in the public lot, feeds the meter 4 quarters, takes a photo of the meter receipt with his phone. Everything documented. He's learned this lesson well. The system will use any excuse to find you at fault, so you document everything. Give them no excuses. Inside the courthouse, the air is cool and slightly stale, carrying that distinctive smell of government buildings everywhere. Floor wax, industrial cleaning products, old paper, and something indefinable that might just be the accumulated bureaucracy of decades. Marcus takes the stairs to the ground floor clerk's office. His footsteps echo in the stairwell. There's graffiti on one wall, scratched into the paint with something sharp. Justice is a lie. Marcus wonders how long that's been there, how many people walk past it every day without seeing it anymore. The clerk's office has a small waiting area with hard plastic chairs bolted to the floor and a single window marked Traffic Division behind scratched plexiglass. There's a line. 6 people ahead of Marcus, all of them there for various traffic-related administrative tasks. An elderly Hispanic woman trying to explain something in broken English to someone behind the glass. A young white guy in a t-shirt and baggy jeans, bouncing his leg nervously, probably here about a suspended license. A middle-aged black woman in a nurse's uniform checking her watch every 30 seconds, clearly on a break from work and worried about getting back on time. Marcus joins the end of the line and waits. He uses the time to observe. The clerk behind the window is a white woman, mid-50s, with reading glasses hanging from a beaded chain around her neck. She processes each person with mechanical efficiency, takes their paperwork, glances at it, stamps it or doesn't stamp it depending on some criteria Marcus can't discern, hands it back or keeps it, calls the next person. She doesn't make eye contact, doesn't engage in small talk, just performs the minimal interaction required by her job description and nothing more. The line moves slowly. It takes 15 minutes to get from the back to the front. When Marcus finally reaches the window, the clerk looks up. Her name tag reads Simone Baker. She's the woman from the phone. He recognizes the voice. "Can I help you?" Marcus slides his freshly printed not guilty plea through the narrow slot at the bottom of the plexiglass barrier. "Yes, ma'am. I called earlier today about resubmitting my not guilty plea. Citation number 2024 CVs 8837. Simone picks up the document, glances at it briefly, then looks at Marcus more carefully. Something changes in her expression. Not much, just a subtle shift around the eyes, a slight tightening of her mouth. Recognition, maybe, or assessment. She's sizing him up, trying to place him in whatever mental filing system she uses for the hundreds of people who come through here every week. "You could have just mailed this again." Her tone is neutral, but there's an edge underneath, a suggestion that Marcus is wasting her time by insisting on hand delivery. "I wanted to make sure it was received this time. Last time I mailed it, it seems to have gotten lost in your system." Simone's expression doesn't change, but her voice gets slightly colder. "It didn't get lost. Things just take time to process. We have procedures." "I understand that you have procedures," Marcus says carefully, "but my court date is in 3 days. I need to make sure this gets processed before then so I don't have a warrant issued for failure to appear." "It will be processed, probably." Simone reaches for a stamp, large, industrial, the kind that makes a loud noise when it comes down. She positions Marcus's document carefully on her desk, lining it up with military precision. Then she brings the stamp down hard. The impact is loud enough that several people in the waiting area turn to look. The stamp lands slightly off-center, the impression cutting through part of Marcus's signature at the bottom of the page. It could be accidental. Stamps go where you put them, and maybe Simone just didn't line it up perfectly. But the way she did it, the deliberate positioning, the hard impact, the slight smile that flickers across her face for just a moment, makes Marcus wonder if it was intentional. A small act of petty power, a way of saying, "I control this process, not you." Simone hands the stamped copy back through the slot. Marcus takes it carefully, examining the stamped impression. The date is clear. November 18th, 2024. The timestamp shows 3:47 p.m. But his signature is partially obscured by the stamp impression, making it harder to verify the document's authenticity if questions arise later. You'll get a notice in the mail within 4 to 6 weeks with your hearing date, Simone says. Marcus keeps his voice level. 4 to 6 weeks. But my citation lists a court date of November 21st. That's in 3 days. That was your date to either pay the fine or file a contest. You've filed your contest now, so we'll schedule a new hearing date. 4 to 6 weeks. And if a warrant gets issued in the meantime because the system shows I didn't appear on November 21st? Simone's expression hardens fractionally. Her voice takes on a slightly defensive tone, the sound of someone who's heard this complaint before and has a prepared response. That won't happen if you've filed a not guilty plea in time, which you have, now. She emphasizes the last word slightly, making it clear that she considers the previous mailing to have never happened, or to have been Marcus's responsibility if it got lost. Marcus understands the message. If something goes wrong, if a warrant does get issued, the official record will show that he didn't properly file his contest until November 18th, 3 days before his court date, cutting it dangerously close. Never mind that he actually filed it 3 weeks earlier. The system's records will tell a different story, and the system's records are what matter. Thank you for your time, Marcus says. He pulls out his phone, opens the camera app, and right there at the window, takes a photograph of the stamped document. The flash goes off, bright in the fluorescent-lit office. Simone's eyes narrow. You can't take pictures in here. Marcus looks at her steadily. It's a photograph of my own document, ma'am, for my personal records. I don't care what it's a picture of. You can't take photographs inside the courthouse. Security policy. Marcus slides his phone back into his pocket without argument. I apologize. I wasn't aware of that policy. Now you are. Simone turns to the computer, dismissing him. Next. Marcus steps away from the window and walks to a bench near the exit. He sits down, pulls out his phone again, but this time he opens his notes app instead of his camera. Types quickly, his thumbs moving over the screen with practiced efficiency. November 18th, 3:47 p.m. Submitted not guilty plea in person to Simone Baker, Traffic Division Clerk. Original plea mailed certified October 30th. Delivered November 1st per tracking receipt. Clerk claims not received or not processed. Resubmitted today. Baker stamped document off-center. Stamp obscures part of signature. Stated hearing date will be scheduled within 4 to 6 weeks. When I attempted to photograph stamped document for my records, was told photography not allowed due to security policy. No such policy posted anywhere visible in the office. He saves the note. The app automatically timestamps it. 3:51 p.m. Then he takes the stamped document, folds it carefully so the stamp is visible on the outside crease, and places it in the manila folder he brought specifically for this purpose. As he walks toward the exit, he passes the window again. Simone is helping the next person in line, but Marcus catches her eyes tracking him in his peripheral vision. She watches him all the way to the door. He can feel her gaze on his back even after he's through the doorway and out of her line of sight. Outside, Marcus sits in his car for several minutes before starting the engine. Something about that interaction bothers him in a way he can't quite articulate. It's not just the bureaucratic runaround. He expected that. It's the way Simone looked at him, like she knew something he didn't. Like this was all following some script she'd seen play out many times before, and she already knew how it would end. He starts the car and drives home, but the uneasy feeling stays with him for the rest of the day, a low-grade anxiety that sits in his chest and won't quite dissipate no matter how many deep breaths he takes. Chuck. 5 weeks later, just after Christmas, the notice finally arrives. Marcus pulls it from his mailbox on December 23rd, along with a handful of holiday cards from relatives and the usual assortment of junk mail promising amazing deals on things he doesn't need. The envelope from the court is thin, official-looking, with the county seal embossed in the upper left corner. His name and address are printed in a standard Arial font, impersonal and bureaucratic, the kind of typography that comes from a mass mailing system that processes thousands of these notices every month. Marcus opens it right there by the mailbox, not wanting to wait even the 30 seconds it would take to walk back to his apartment. Inside is a single sheet of paper. He reads it standing in the cold December air, his breath making small clouds in front of his face. The hearing is scheduled for January 14th at 9 in the morning. Courtroom 3B, Judge Callan Reed presiding. The notice includes a stern warning in bold text that failure to appear may result in a warrant being issued for his arrest and additional penalties, including but not limited to increased fines, suspension of driving privileges, and contempt of court charges. Marcus reads the notice twice, then folds it and carries it inside along with the rest of his mail. January 14th. That's 3 weeks away. It also means it's been 12 weeks since he got the ticket, far longer than the typical processing time for a simple traffic case. Whether that delay was deliberate or just the normal grinding slowness of an overworked bureaucratic system, he can't say. But the delay does give him something valuable: time to prepare. That evening, Marcus begins his research in earnest. He settles into his desk chair with his laptop, a legal pad, 3 different colored highlighters, and a determination to understand not just the law he's accused of violating, but also the system he's about to navigate, and the man who will be judging him. He starts with Judge Callan Reed, opens his browser, searches the name along with Florida Judge and County Court. The first results are official and unsurprising. Judge Reed's profile on the County Court website shows a professionally photographed portrait of a white man in his mid-50s with thinning hair combed straight back, wire-rimmed glasses, and the black robes of judicial office. His expression in the photo is stern but not unkind, the practiced look of someone who knows how to appear authoritative without seeming harsh. The biographical information is minimal but telling. Appointed to the bench in 2013 by the governor, reappointed in 2019 and again in 2023. Prior to becoming a judge, he worked as a prosecutor in the state attorney's office for 8 years, handling primarily misdemeanor and traffic cases. He has a law degree from a mid-tier Florida law school, no other advanced degrees listed, no major news stories, no public disciplinary actions. On paper, Judge Callan Reed is exactly what he appears to be: a career prosecutor who became a career judge, methodically working his way through the system, getting reappointed on schedule, causing no scandals. But Marcus has learned that what's on paper and what's in reality are often 2 different things. He digs deeper. He searches for Judge Callan Reed reviews and finds several lawyer rating websites where attorneys can leave anonymous feedback about judges they've appeared before. These sites exist in a legal gray area. Technically, anyone can leave a review, but the sites claim to verify that reviewers are actually attorneys who have practiced in front of the judges they're reviewing. The reviews are mixed, and Marcus reads through dozens of them, looking for patterns. Many of the reviews are brief and generic. Fair judge. Knows the law. Efficient courtroom. The kind of vague platitudes that could describe almost anyone. But scattered among these bland assessments are more detailed and more troubling observations. One attorney writes, "Judge Reed is efficient to the point of being abrupt. He doesn't waste time on lengthy arguments. If you're prepared and you get to the point quickly, he'll listen. If you meander or try to make the same argument 3 different ways, he'll cut you off. Not necessarily unfair, just very impatient." Another says, "Fair but harsh on sentencing. He believes in personal responsibility above all else. If you're looking for sympathy or leniency, look elsewhere. He'll follow the sentencing guidelines exactly, and if there's discretion, he tends toward the high end of the range." But one review catches Marcus's attention and holds it. It's longer than the others, more detailed, written by someone who clearly has strong feelings about their experience. "I've practiced in front of Judge Reed for 6 years, primarily traffic and misdemeanor cases. He's consistent in one thing. He does not like defendants who try to argue the law with him. If you're self-represented and you try to cite statutes or case law or make legal arguments, he will shut you down hard and fast. He takes it as a personal challenge to his authority. I've seen him threaten contempt over things that in any other courtroom would be considered normal advocacy. If you're going to appear in front of Reed, either bring a lawyer who knows how to handle him, or just plead guilty and pay the fine. Don't try to be your own lawyer. He'll make you regret it. Marcus reads this review 3 times. Then he screenshots it and saves it in a folder on his laptop labeled Reed Research. He continues searching, finding a dozen more reviews that echo similar themes. Efficient, impatient, doesn't like to be challenged, harsh on sentencing, good if you have a lawyer, difficult if you don't. The pattern is clear. Judge Callan Reed runs his courtroom like a prosecutor who happened to put on robes. He's not interested in hearing defenses. He's interested in processing cases quickly and moving on to the next one. Marcus saves all of these reviews, organizing them by theme, noting which ones seem most credible based on the level of detail provided. Then he shifts his focus to the law itself. He pulls up Florida Statute 316.155, the section he's charged with violating. He's read it before, of course, but now he reads it with the careful attention of someone whose immediate future depends on understanding every word, every comma, every conditional phrase. The statute is titled Turning and Starting and Signaling, and it covers a range of behaviors related to changing direction or position on a roadway. The relevant subsection for Marcus's case is 316.155(1)(a), which reads, "No person shall turn a vehicle from a direct course or move right or left upon a roadway unless and until such movement can be made with reasonable safety, and then only after giving an appropriate signal in the manner provided herein." Simple enough on its face. Signal before you turn or change lanes. But Marcus knows that legal language is rarely as simple as it appears. He keeps reading, looking for the conditional language, the exceptions, the circumstances that modify the general rule. Subsection 2 specifies the distance requirements. Signals must be given at least 100 feet before turning when the speed limit is 45 miles per hour or less, or at least 300 feet before turning when the speed limit is more than 45 miles per hour. Marcus was on a road with a 50 mile per hour speed limit, so the 300-foot rule would apply. But that's not the issue. The issue is whether he needed to signal at all, given the specific circumstances. He finds the language he's looking for in subsection 3. A signal of intention to turn or move right or left when required shall be given continuously during the last 100 feet traveled by the vehicle before turning. That phrase, "when required," is crucial. It's a qualifier. It suggests that there are circumstances when a signal is not required, when the general rule doesn't apply. Marcus searches for case law interpreting this statute. He's not a lawyer, but he's spent enough time reading technical documentation and regulatory requirements in his work that he knows how to research legal questions. He finds several Florida appellate court decisions discussing the turn signal statute, but one in particular seems directly on point. The case is called State v. Johnson, decided by the Florida Supreme Court in 1998. Marcus downloads the full opinion and reads it carefully, highlighting key passages as he goes. The facts of the Johnson case are straightforward. A driver was cited for failing to signal before making a left turn. The driver argued that there was no other traffic present at the time, so no signal was necessary. The trial court convicted him anyway, saying the statute is absolute. You must signal before turning, period, regardless of traffic conditions. The driver appealed, and the case eventually made its way to the state Supreme Court. The Supreme Court reversed the conviction. In its decision, the court held that the turn signal requirement is not absolute. The statute, the court said, must be read in conjunction with its purpose, which is to notify other traffic of your intentions so they can react accordingly. When there is no other traffic that could be affected by your turn or lane change, the failure to signal does not violate the statute's purpose and therefore should not result in a conviction. The court's exact words, which Marcus highlights in bright yellow, are these: "A signal is required when such movement may affect other traffic. Where no other traffic is present to be affected by the movement, the signal requirement is directory rather than mandatory." Marcus sits back in his chair and lets out a long breath. This is exactly what he needs. A Florida Supreme Court decision directly on point, holding that you don't have to signal when there's no other traffic around. And Officer Platt's own incident report stated, Marcus pulls it out of his folder to confirm, yes, stated clearly, no other vehicles in immediate vicinity. Platt's own words prove that Marcus didn't violate the statute, even if he hadn't signaled, which he did. The dash cam footage shows it. So Marcus has two independent defenses. He did signal, and even if he hadn't, there was no violation because there was no other traffic to affect. This should be simple. This should be straightforward. The law is on his side. The facts are on his side. The evidence is on his side. Marcus prints the Johnson opinion, all 23 pages of it. He highlights the key passages, makes margin notes, prepares to cite it in his defense. He organizes his evidence folder with care, creating tabs for different sections: statute, case law, incident report, dash cam evidence, timeline of events. He writes out his planned testimony, rehearsing it aloud in his apartment until the words come naturally without sounding rehearsed or stiff. He prepares like he's preparing for a combat mission, because in a way, that's exactly what this is. Not physical combat, but a kind of bureaucratic warfare where the enemy has superior position and resources, but can still be defeated if you know the terrain well enough. He doesn't hire a lawyer, partly because a lawyer would cost more than the ticket itself. He gets quotes from 3 different traffic attorneys, and none of them will take the case for less than $1,500, but mostly because Marcus genuinely believes he's right. The citation is factually inaccurate, and he has incontrovertible evidence to prove it. This should be simple. A reasonable judge, presented with video evidence and controlling case law, will dismiss the charge. That's how the system is supposed to work. Marcus spends the week between Christmas and New Year's fine-tuning his preparation. He watches the dash cam footage probably 50 times, timing everything precisely. Turn signal activates at 07:42:14. 5 full seconds pass. Lane change begins at 07:42:19. Lane change complete at 07:42:24. Platt's lights activate at 07:42:31. 7 seconds after the signal, 17 seconds after the lane change. The timestamps are incontrovertible. He creates a detailed timeline, typing it out and printing it on heavy stock paper so it looks professional. He exports 3 still frames from the video at key moments. Turn signal clearly visible and activated, merge in progress with signal still blinking, empty road with no other vehicles visible in any direction. He has these printed at a professional print shop on glossy photo paper, making sure the images are as clear as possible. On January 8th, the public records request he filed back in November finally bears fruit. The clerk's office emails him the complete incident report and the dash cam footage. Marcus already has the footage. He requested it separately through a different channel, but now he has the official court copy with a certification stamp. The incident report is exactly as he remembered it, 1 page, minimal detail, and most importantly, containing the phrase that will be central to his defense: no other vehicles in immediate vicinity. Marcus adds these official copies to his evidence folder. His case is airtight. The facts are clear. The law is clear. The video evidence is incontrovertible. This should be simple. He doesn't sleep well the night before the hearing. He wakes at 4:30 in the morning from a dream he can't quite remember, heart pounding, sheets damp with sweat. He lies in bed for 20 minutes trying to fall back asleep, but his mind is already racing through his planned testimony, anticipating questions, rehearsing responses. At 5, he gives up and gets out of bed. He goes for his run earlier than usual, hitting the streets while it's still dark, streetlights casting orange pools on empty sidewalks. He runs harder than normal, pushing himself, trying to burn off the nervous energy that's been building for weeks. It doesn't work. He comes back after 4 miles feeling physically tired but mentally wired, adrenaline still coursing through his system. He showers, taking his time, letting the hot water beat down on his shoulders. He shaves carefully, making sure he looks as clean-cut and professional as possible. Dresses in his best business casual outfit, a pressed button-down shirt in light blue, khaki pants with a sharp crease that he ironed himself, leather belt, polished brown shoes. He doesn't own a suit. The closest thing he has is a navy blazer that he considers wearing, then decides against. Too formal. He wants to look respectful and professional, but not like he's trying too hard, not like he's putting on airs. He forces himself to eat a small breakfast even though his stomach is tied in knots. Toast with peanut butter, black coffee, a banana. His body needs fuel even if he doesn't feel hungry. He reviews his notes one final time, going through his evidence folder page by page, making sure everything is in order and easily accessible. At 7:45, 90 minutes before the hearing, Marcus leaves his apartment. He wants to be early. Wants time to find parking, get through security, locate the courtroom, settle his nerves before the hearing starts. Wants to show respect to the court by being punctual, by being prepared. The drive takes 23 minutes. Traffic is light this early on a Tuesday morning. Marcus parks in the public lot, feeds the meter with quarters, takes a photo of the meter receipt showing he paid until 11 in the morning. Everything documented. Always document. The system will use any excuse, so you give them no excuses. The courthouse is already busy when Marcus arrives at 8:30. A steady stream of people flows through the entrance. Attorneys in dark suits carrying briefcases, defendants in street clothes clutching crumpled papers, a few civilians there for administrative tasks. Marcus joins the security line, places his keys and phone and wallet in a plastic bin, walks through the metal detector without incident. The security guard barely glances at him. He takes the stairs to the second floor. Old habit from the Marines. Never take an elevator if you can take stairs. Elevators are choke points, places where you can get trapped if something goes wrong. Stairs give you options. He knows it's irrational to think this way in a civilian courthouse in peacetime, but old training dies hard. Courtroom 3B is at the end of a long hallway, past 3 other courtrooms and a water fountain and a bathroom with a hand-lettered, out-of-order sign taped to the door. The courtroom door is heavy wood with a narrow window at eye level. Marcus peers through before entering. The room is already half full, even though it's only 8:35 and the docket doesn't start until 9. 20 people seated in gallery benches that look like they were installed sometime in the 1970s. Most of them look nervous or bored or resigned to whatever fate awaits them. Marcus enters quietly, pulling the door open just wide enough to slip through, then letting it close slowly behind him so it doesn't bang. A bailiff stands near the side door at the front of the courtroom, thick build, military bearing, arms crossed, watching everyone who enters with flat, assessing eyes. His nameplate reads Voss. He's probably mid-40s, with weathered skin and a small scar above his left eyebrow. Former military for certain. Marcus recognizes the posture, the way Voss's eyes track movement, the controlled stillness of someone trained to respond to threats. Marcus nods respectfully to Voss as he enters. Voss's eyes follow him, but his expression doesn't change. No acknowledgement, no response, just continuous assessment. Marcus chooses a seat in the third row on the left side. Not too far back, which might suggest he's trying to hide or not take this seriously. Not right up front, which might seem presumptuous or aggressive. Third row feels right, engaged but respectful, present but not intrusive. He sits down, places his folder on his lap, opens it, and reviews his notes one final time, even though he's already reviewed them a dozen times this morning. It's something to do with his hands, a way to channel the nervous energy that's making his fingers twitch and his leg want to bounce. Around him, the courtroom gradually fills. By 8:55, there are easily 35 people in the gallery, maybe more. Some have attorneys with them. You can tell by the suits, by the way they huddle together in whispered conversations, by the body language of professionals who do this every day talking to clients who are doing it for the first time. But most of the defendants are alone, representing themselves, clutching paperwork they probably don't fully understand. The court clerk sits at a desk to the right of the judge's bench, organizing files, occasionally glancing up at the crowd with the weary expression of someone who knows exactly how the next 2 hours will unfold, because she's seen it unfold the same way 1,000 times before. She's younger than Simone, maybe early 30s, with dark hair pulled back in a tight bun and reading glasses that keep sliding down her nose. At 9:04, the side door opens. Bailiff Voss straightens to full attention, his posture shifting from watchful to formal. "All rise." Everyone stands. Marcus stands with them, folder held at his side, hands not quite steady. Judge Callan Reed enters through the side door. He's wearing the black robes of his office, moving with practiced efficiency, the economical movements of someone who's done this exact routine thousands of times. He looks exactly like his photograph on the court website, but older somehow, more tired around the eyes, the skin on his face a little more slack, a little more weathered. He's carrying a thick stack of files under one arm. Reed takes his seat on the elevated bench without ceremony or acknowledgement of the people in the courtroom. Doesn't look at the gallery, just opens the first file, adjusts his wire-rimmed glasses and starts reading. The Honorable Judge Callan Reed presiding. This is the County Court, Traffic Division in session. Voss's voice is formal, practiced, the ritual words of court opening. You may be seated. Everyone sits. The benches creak with the weight of 35 people settling in simultaneously. Reed's voice is clipped and businesslike, carrying the edge of impatience even in his opening remarks. We have a full docket this morning. 28 cases scheduled. Let's move efficiently. If your case is called and you're not present, a warrant will be issued. If you're present and you want to change your plea to guilty, you can do that when your case is called, and we'll handle sentencing immediately. Otherwise, we'll hear your case and I'll rule. Understood? Good. First case. The clerk reads from her file in a monotone voice. Case 2024, TF 11398, State v. Jennifer Morrison. Speeding 72 in a 55-mile-per-hour zone. A young white woman stands from the front row, early 20s, blonde hair pulled back in a ponytail, wearing jeans and a university sweatshirt with Greek letters across the front. She approaches the podium nervously, gripping its edges with both hands like she's afraid she might fall over without something to hold on to. Reed glances at his file, then looks up at her. Ms. Morrison, how do you plead? Guilty, Your Honor. Her voice is soft, hesitant, barely audible beyond the first row. But I was hoping I could request a payment plan because I'm a student and I don't have the full amount right now to pay all at once and... Reed cuts her off with a wave of his hand, not unkindly but definitively. Payment plan is automatic for students, $50 per month for 6 months. Make your payments online or at the clerk's office. First payment due within 30 days. Pay on time, no issues. Miss a payment, there will be additional fees and possible suspension of your license. Understood? Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. Next case. The entire interaction takes maybe 40 seconds. Jennifer Morrison walks away looking relieved and confused in equal measure, probably not entirely sure what just happened, but grateful it's over. Marcus watches carefully, taking mental notes. Reed is efficient, that's clear. He doesn't waste time. He's not unkind to this young white woman, but he's brisk, businesslike, already thinking about the next case before this one is fully resolved. The clerk calls the next case. Case 2024 TF 11652, State v. Jerome Taylor, expired vehicle registration. A middle-aged black man stands from the third row on the opposite side of the courtroom. He's probably late 50s, wearing pressed slacks and a collared shirt tucked in, carrying a folder similar to Marcus's. He approaches the podium with careful dignity, his posture straight, his movements deliberate. Your Honor, I'd like to explain the circumstances. Reed looks up from his file, his expression already hardening. Before you explain anything, Mr. Taylor, how do you plead? Guilty or not guilty? Well, Your Honor, I'm pleading not guilty because I did renew my registration. The DMV made an error in their system and they didn't process it properly, but I have the receipt showing I paid the renewal fee online and... Reed's expression shifts from neutral to impatient. Mr. Taylor, simple question. Were your registration tags expired on the date you were stopped by the officer? Yes or no? Yes, but then you were driving with expired registration. That's the violation. Whether the DMV made an error in processing your renewal is a matter between you and the DMV, not a matter for this court. This court is only concerned with whether your tags were expired when you were stopped, and you've admitted they were. Guilty. $200 fine. Pay at the clerk's office. Next case. Jerome Taylor opens his mouth as if to argue, his hand half raised, but then seems to think better of it. His shoulders slump. He picks up his folder and walks back to his seat, moving like a man who's just been dismissed from something he thought would be a conversation, but turned out to be a pronouncement. Marcus notes the difference in tone from the first case. Reed was brusque with both defendants, but there was an edge with Jerome Taylor that wasn't there with Jennifer Morrison. A dismissiveness, a refusal to even consider the explanation before rendering judgment. The docket continues. Marcus watches case after case unfold with depressing similarity. Reed processes each one with mechanical efficiency. Most defendants plead guilty and get payment plans or reduced fines. A few try to explain their circumstances and get cut off mid-sentence. One young Hispanic man tries to contest a speeding ticket and gets found guilty within 90 seconds because he doesn't know how to properly present his defense, and Reed doesn't help him figure it out. But the third case is different. The clerk calls. Case 2024 TF 1189, State versus Christopher Whitmore, following too closely, commonly known as tailgating. A young white man stands from the second row, maybe 24 or 25, wearing pressed khakis and a polo shirt, clean cut, with the confident bearing of someone who's never had to worry much about consequences. He approaches the podium without visible nervousness. "Your Honor," he begins, his voice clear and confident, "I was maintaining a safe following distance according to the 3-second rule. The vehicle in front of me braked suddenly and without warning, no brake lights, no indication, just a sudden stop. I reacted appropriately and maintained control of my vehicle. The officer's estimation of how close I was is purely subjective and not based on any measurement. I'd also note that the other driver wasn't cited for any violation, which suggests that the officer didn't consider their behavior problematic even though they created the dangerous situation." Reed actually listens to this, sits back in his chair, looks at his file, looks back at the defendant. "How far behind the other vehicle would you estimate you were, Mr. Whitmore?" "At least 3 car lengths, Your Honor. I'm very conscious of maintaining proper following distance." "And the other driver received no citation?" "That's correct, Your Honor. Only I was cited, even though the situation was created by their sudden stop." Reed nods slowly, flipping through the file. "Officer's report here says, following too closely, but doesn't include any specific measurement of the distance between vehicles, just his visual estimation." He closes the file. "Without some objective measurement or corroboration, I can't find sufficient evidence that you were actually violating the statute. The statute requires an unsafe distance, and distance has to be determined by some standard other than one officer's quick glance." Dismissed. Christopher Whitmore grins widely. "Thank you, Your Honor. I really appreciate you taking the time to consider the facts." Next case. Total time, maybe 2.5 minutes. Reed was patient with him, actually engaged with his argument, considered the facts, dismissed the charge. Marcus sees the pattern now. He wants to believe it's coincidental. Different types of cases, different fact patterns, different quality of arguments. But the pattern is there, undeniable if you're looking for it. Reed is dismissive and curt with black and Hispanic defendants, more patient and willing to listen to white defendants, especially young, well-dressed, articulate white defendants who speak with confidence and use the right kind of language. The docket grinds on. Marcus watches every case, making mental notes on Reed's patterns, his tone, his body language, the way he leans back when he's listening and leans forward when he's about to shut someone down. By the time they're halfway through the docket, Marcus has a sick feeling in his stomach that has nothing to do with nerves about his own case. This is how the system works, not through dramatic injustice or overt racism, but through 1,000 small decisions made by one man sitting on an elevated bench, dispensing what he calls justice according to his own biases and preferences, accountable to no one, answerable to nothing except his own sense of what's right. At 10:43, Marcus's case is finally called. Case 2024 CV 08837, State versus Marcus Yale. Failure to signal lane change, Florida Statute 316.155. Marcus stands, takes a deep breath, picks up his folder, walks to the podium with measured steps, neither hurrying nor dragging his feet. He sets the folder down carefully on the podium's slanted surface, keeping his movements controlled and deliberate. His hands rest on the folder, clearly visible, not fidgeting. Reed is flipping through a thin file, probably just the citation, Marcus's not guilty plea, and maybe Officer Platt's incident report. He doesn't look up immediately, just keeps reading whatever's in front of him with that same mechanical efficiency he's shown all morning. Finally, Reed looks up. His eyes meet Marcus's across the space between the podium and the elevated bench. For just a moment, there's something in Reed's expression that Marcus can't quite read, assessment maybe, or recognition, though Marcus can't imagine why Reed would recognize him. "Mr. Yale," Reed's voice is neutral, professional. "Failure to signal lane change. I see Officer Platt isn't present this morning." He glances toward the prosecutor's table, which is empty. In traffic court, prosecutors rarely appear unless it's a DUI or reckless driving case. "But I have his incident report. Says you changed lanes on State Road 50 without signaling. You're contesting this charge?" "Yes, Your Honor, I am." Reed leans back slightly in his chair. "All right. What's your defense?" This is the moment Marcus has been preparing for. He opens his folder, but he doesn't read from it. He's practiced this enough that he can deliver it naturally, looking at Reed, making eye contact, speaking clearly and respectfully. "Your Honor, I have two defenses. First, I did signal. I signaled for 5 full seconds before beginning my lane change, which exceeds the statutory requirement of 3 seconds. I have dash cam footage from Officer Platt's patrol vehicle that clearly shows my turn signal was activated." He pulls out one of the printed still frames, the clearest image showing his turn signal bright and unmistakable. "But second, and more importantly, Your Honor, Officer Platt's own incident report states, and I'm quoting directly, 'no other vehicles in immediate vicinity,' under Florida law, specifically Florida Statute 316.155, as interpreted by the Florida Supreme Court in the case of State versus Johnson, decided in 1998. A turn signal is required when such movement may affect other traffic. If there is no other traffic present that could be affected by the lane change, then the failure to signal does not violate the statute's purpose. So even if I hadn't signaled, which I did, there would be no violation because there was no other traffic to affect." He delivers this carefully, respectfully, without any hint of condescension or lecturing. Just stating facts, citing law, making his argument. This is what the system is supposed to be for. This is how it's supposed to work. Reed's pen stops moving. He looks up slowly, his expression shifting from neutral to something harder, something colder. "You're arguing the law doesn't apply to you." It's not a question. It's an accusation. And Marcus feels the trap closing around him, even though he doesn't understand exactly how or why. "No, Your Honor, I'm not arguing the law doesn't apply to me. I'm arguing that I complied with the law. I signaled when required. And I'm also arguing that under the specific facts of this case, as documented in Officer Platt's own report, no violation occurred." Reed leans back in his chair. His jaw shifts slightly to the left. A small tell, a crack in the professional facade, irritation breaking through. He's quiet for several seconds, just looking at Marcus with an expression that might be assessment or might be something else. Then, "The statute says you signal before you change lanes. Period. It doesn't say signal if you feel like it, or signal if there's other traffic around. It says signal. You didn't signal. That's a violation." Marcus keeps his voice calm and measured, but he can feel his heart rate increasing. "Respectfully, Your Honor, I did signal. The dash cam footage clearly shows—" Reed cuts him off. "I don't care what the dash cam shows. Officer Platt was there. He saw what happened. He says you didn't signal. Are you calling him a liar?" This is the trap Marcus sensed closing. If he says yes, he's accusing a police officer of dishonesty, which will offend Reed. If he says no, he's conceding that he didn't signal, which means he loses. Marcus chooses his words with extreme care. Your Honor, I'm not questioning Officer Platt's honesty or his professionalism. I'm simply saying that the video evidence contradicts his recollection of events. People's memories aren't perfect, even trained observers. But a video recording is objective. It shows what actually happened, not what someone remembers happening. Reed's expression darkens. His voice takes on an edge that wasn't there before. So you're telling me you understand the law better than I do? Again, it's not phrased as a question. It's an accusation disguised as a question, designed to put Marcus on the defensive, to make him choose between backing down or doubling down. Marcus doesn't want to do either. He just wants to present his evidence and have it considered fairly. No, Your Honor, I'm not claiming to understand the law better than anyone. I'm just reading from the statute as it's written and citing a Florida Supreme Court case that interprets it. The statute is printed right here on the citation itself. He starts to pull out his copy of the statute, highlighted and annotated. I don't need you to read statutes to me. Reed's voice rises slightly, not yelling but sharper, louder, cutting through the courtroom like a blade. Several people in the gallery shift uncomfortably in their seats. I've been on this bench for 12 years. I was a prosecutor for 8 years before that. I know traffic law inside and out. I've probably dealt with this statute more times than you've driven a car, and I don't appreciate defendants coming into my courtroom and trying to lecture me about the law like I'm some first-year law student who doesn't know what I'm doing. The courtroom is completely silent. 30 people watching. Marcus can feel every eye on him. He's aware of Bailiff Voss shifting his stance near the side door, coming slightly more alert. Marcus keeps his voice level, respectful, even though what he really wants to do is point out that he's not lecturing anyone. He's just trying to present a defense to a criminal charge, which is supposed to be his constitutional right. Your Honor, I apologize if I gave that impression. I'm just trying to present my defense. I have video evidence that I'd like you to review. Your defense is that you think you're smarter than the officer who pulled you over. Reed leans forward now, his voice hard and cold. That you think you can come in here, throw around some legal terms you looked up on the internet, cite some case you probably don't even understand, and somehow convince me that Officer Platt is wrong and you're right. That's what this is really about, isn't it? You can't just accept responsibility for your actions like an adult. You have to make this into some big legal argument because your ego won't let you just admit you made a mistake. Marcus feels his face flush. The accusation is so wildly off base, so completely disconnected from reality, that for a moment he doesn't even know how to respond. This isn't about his ego. This is about the fact that he didn't commit the violation he's charged with, and he has objective evidence proving it. But before Marcus can formulate a response, Reed is already rendering judgment. Guilty. $250. Pay at the clerk's office. Next case. Marcus doesn't move. His mind is reeling, trying to process what just happened. He prepared for weeks. He has incontrovertible evidence. He cited controlling case law, and Reed just dismissed it all without even looking at it. Your Honor, Marcus's voice is steady but urgent. With respect, I'd like to request that you review the video evidence before making a final ruling. I have it here on a USB drive. It's only 30 seconds long. It clearly shows my turn signal was activated and that there was no other traffic present. It takes less than a minute to review. Reed's eyes narrow. I've ruled guilty. $250. Sit down, Mr. Yale. Your Honor, under the Florida Rules of Traffic Court, I have the right to present evidence in my defense. I'm respectfully asking you to look at objective video evidence before— What you have, Reed interrupts, his voice now openly hostile, is the right to be held in contempt if you keep arguing with me after I've rendered my judgment. I've ruled. The ruling stands. Now sit down before I have the bailiff remove you and add contempt charges to your fine. Marcus looks at Reed, then at Bailiff Voss, who has straightened to full attention near the side door, ready to move if ordered, then back to Reed. He could push this, could insist on his right to present evidence, could force Reed to either look at the video or formally hold him in contempt for insisting on exercising his constitutional rights. But something in Reed's eyes, the way he's leaning forward slightly, the way his hand is resting on his gavel, tells Marcus that Reed wants him to push, wants him to give Reed a reason to escalate this, to hold him in contempt, to make an example of him for the rest of the courtroom. Marcus makes a calculated decision. He'll lose this battle, but maybe he can win the war. He just needs to preserve his rights for appeal.
Yes, Your Honor. His voice is controlled, respectful. May I request that the record reflect that I attempted to present video evidence for the court's review, and that request was declined? Reed's eyes flash with something. Anger, maybe, or satisfaction that Marcus is finally backing down. The record will reflect that you were found guilty based on Officer Platt's sworn report and testimony. The record will reflect that you attempted to argue matters of law beyond your competence. Now sit down, Mr. Yale, before I change my mind about those contempt charges. Marcus picks up his folder. Every eye in the courtroom is still on him. He walks back to his seat with measured steps, neither hurrying nor dragging his feet. Sits down quietly, places the folder on his lap.
His hands are shaking slightly with suppressed anger. Not the hot, explosive kind, but the cold, calculating kind that comes from injustice witnessed and endured. But he doesn't leave. He stays in his seat for the rest of the docket, watching every subsequent case, making sure Reed sees that he's watching. He wants Reed to know that this isn't over. Reed calls the next case without pause, as if the interaction with Marcus never happened. But Marcus notices something. Reed's tone with the next two defendants, both white, both respectful, both with fairly weak defenses, is noticeably more patient than it was with Marcus. One of them even gets a fine reduction after presenting almost no evidence at all. By 11:15, the docket is complete. Reed stands. Everyone stands with him. He exits through the side door. The bailiff calls, "Court is adjourned," and people start filing out slowly. Marcus waits until most of the crowd has left before standing. Then he picks up his folder, tucks it under his arm, and walks toward the exit with slow, deliberate steps. As he passes Bailiff Voss, their eyes meet briefly. Voss's expression is unreadable, but Marcus sees him track every step until Marcus is through the door and out of sight. In the hallway, Marcus finds a quiet corner and leans against the wall. He closes his eyes and takes 3 deep breaths, forcing his heart rate back down to normal, pushing the anger down where it won't cloud his judgment. He's just witnessed something that most people never see clearly, or if they see it, they don't recognize it for what it is. The system working exactly as it's designed to work. Not to find truth or dispense justice, but to process people efficiently, to maintain the appearance of fairness while systematically disadvantaging those who don't know how to navigate its unwritten rules or who don't have the resources to hire people who do. Marcus pulls out his phone, opens his voice memo app. January 14th, approximately 10:45 a.m., traffic court hearing before Judge Callan Reed, case number 2024 CV08837. I presented my defense, including citation of relevant Florida statute 316.155 and Florida Supreme Court precedent in State v. Johnson. I offered to present dash cam video evidence showing both that I signaled and that no other traffic was present. Judge Reed refused to review the evidence. He stated he didn't appreciate defendants lecturing him about the law and accused me of having an ego problem, found guilty without reviewing evidence. I observed 17 other cases during the same session. Clear pattern. Judge Reed showed substantially less patience and more open hostility toward Black and Hispanic defendants compared to white defendants. Multiple instances of white defendants receiving fine reductions or case dismissals for weak defenses, while Black and Hispanic defendants with stronger defenses were found guilty and given no opportunity to present evidence. This pattern was consistent throughout the entire docket. He saves the memo. The app automatically timestamps it, 10:51:37 a.m. Then he walks downstairs to the clerk's office, because apparently he now has to pay for a crime he didn't commit. There's a line at the payment window. Marcus joins it, waiting his turn with the patience of someone who has no other choice. When he finally reaches the window, It's Simone again. She looks up as he approaches. There's something in her expression. Recognition, definitely, but also something that might be satisfaction or might be pity. Hard to tell. Can I help you? I need to file a notice of appeal. Simone blinks once. Then her expression shifts into something that's definitely satisfaction this time, with maybe a hint of amusement at Marcus's apparent naivety. For a traffic ticket? Yes. She leans back in her chair and crosses her arms across her chest, a posture that simultaneously closes her off and establishes her authority. Honey, you're going to spend more money on filing fees and court costs than the fine itself. Just pay the $250 and move on with your life. Fighting the system is expensive and you're not going to win anyway. Take my advice. Marcus keeps his voice level and professional, though what he wants to say is that he didn't ask for her advice and he doesn't need her condescension. I appreciate your concern, but I'd like to file an appeal anyway. What's the procedure? Simone sighs dramatically, the kind of exaggerated sigh that's meant to communicate that Marcus is making her life unnecessarily difficult. We don't have a standard form for traffic appeals. You have to write your own notice of appeal and file it with the appellate division. That's a different office entirely. Courthouse Annex Building, 3 blocks south on Maple Street. They close at 4 o'clock. Marcus checks his watch. It's 11:23. Thank you. Can you give me the exact address? Simone's eyes narrow slightly. It's online. Google it. She turns her attention to her computer screen, dismissing Marcus entirely. Next. Marcus leaves the courthouse and walks to his car, sits in the driver's seat for a long moment, gripping the steering wheel, breathing slowly and deliberately. His hands are still shaking slightly with suppressed rage. Then he pulls out his phone and searches for the appellate division address. Finds it immediately. Courthouse Annex, 428 South Maple Street. 3 blocks away, exactly as Simone said. He drives there, parks, feeds the meter, walks inside. The annex is much quieter than the main courthouse, with fewer people and a feeling of being slightly forgotten, like a back office where important documents go to gather dust. The appellate clerk's office is on the first floor, marked with a simple wooden placard. Marcus enters. Behind the desk sits an older woman, probably late 60s, with white hair pulled back in a neat bun and reading glasses on a beaded chain around her neck. She looks up as he enters, her expression neutral but not unfriendly. Can I help you? Yes, ma'am. I need to file a notice of appeal for a traffic case. Case number 2024 CV 08837. I was found guilty this morning and I want to appeal the judgment. She studies him for a moment, her expression thoughtful. You're representing yourself? Yes, ma'am. Do you have the notice prepared? I was told I need to write it myself. I don't have the specific format required. She nods, as if this is exactly what she expected to hear. Opens a drawer, pulls out a single sheet of paper, and slides it across the counter. Sample format. You'll need to include the case number, the court where the original case was heard, the judge's name, the date of the judgment you're appealing, and a clear statement that you're appealing. Filing fee is $215, cash or credit card. Marcus takes the sample and reads it quickly. It's straightforward enough, just a formal letter to the circuit court notifying them of his intent to appeal the county court judgment. He can write this in 5 minutes. Is there a place where I can sit and write this? She gestures toward a small waiting area with 3 chairs and a coffee table covered with old magazines. Take your time. Let me know when you're ready. Marcus sits in one of the chairs. It's more comfortable than the benches in the courtroom. He pulls a pen from his folder and turns over one of his printed documents to use the blank back as a writing surface. Writes carefully and neatly, copying the format from the sample but adapting it to his specific case. He writes it out longhand in his neatest printing, double-checking every word, every case number, every date. When he's satisfied, he stands and walks back to the counter. The clerk takes it, reads it carefully, her eyes moving across each line. She nods. This will work. $215. Marcus hands over his credit card. She processes the payment, prints a receipt, stamps his notice of appeal with a loud thunk that echoes in the quiet office, and hands him back a copy. You'll also need to order a transcript of your hearing from the court reporter. That's separate from the filing fee. The reporter will need to prepare the transcript before the circuit court can review your case. Usually takes 3 to 4 weeks depending on how backed up they are. How do I order the transcript? She pulls out a business card and hands it to him. Mrs. Helen Delacroix. She's the court reporter for all the traffic court hearings. Call her, tell her what case you need the transcript for. She'll give you a quote for the cost. It's usually around $3.50 per page. Marcus takes the card and studies it. Plain white cardstock, black text, nothing fancy. Just a name, phone number, and email address. Thank you very much for your help. I appreciate you taking the time to explain the process. She offers a small, sad smile. Good luck, Mr. Yale. You're going to need it. There's something in the way she says it. Not unkindly, but with the resigned certainty of someone who's seen this play out before and knows how it usually ends. That makes Marcus's stomach tighten. He walks out of the annex and back to his car, sits in the driver's seat and stares at the business card in his hand. He's now committed to this path. He's going to appeal a traffic ticket, something that probably less than 1% of defendants ever bother doing. He's going to spend hundreds of dollars, dozens of hours, fighting a $250 fine. He could still back out, could still just pay the fine, accept the conviction on his driving record, let it go, move on with his life. But he doesn't do that. He can't do that, because this isn't about the ticket anymore. It hasn't been about the ticket for a long time. It's about Judge Reed's dismissiveness, his refusal to even look at exculpatory evidence, his clear pattern of treating defendants differently based on their race. It's about a system that's supposed to dispense justice, but actually just processes people like products on an assembly line. Marcus has been willing to die for principles before. He spent 8 years in the Marine Corps prepared to give his life in defense of abstract concepts like freedom and democracy. This is different, smaller in scope, but no less important in its own way. Sometimes the most important battles are the small ones, the ones that don't make headlines but that define who you are and what you're willing to stand up for. He starts the car and drives home. Once there, he immediately calls the number on Mrs. Delacroix's card. It goes to voicemail after 4 rings. You've reached Helen Delacroix, court reporter for County Court Traffic Division. Please leave a message with your name, case number, date of hearing, and contact information, and I'll return your call within 2 business days. Thank you. Marcus leaves a detailed message, speaking clearly and slowly. Mrs. Delacroix, this is Marcus Yale. I'm requesting a full transcript for case number 2024 CV08837, which was heard before Judge Callan Reed this morning, January 14, 2025. I'm filing an appeal, and I need the transcript to prepare my appellate brief. Please call me back at this number to discuss the cost and timeline. Again, my number is... He repeats his phone number twice to make sure it's clear. Then he hangs up and waits. 3 days pass. No callback. Marcus calls again on January 17th. Gets voicemail. Leaves another message, this one slightly more urgent in tone but still polite. Mrs. Delacroix, this is Marcus Yale calling again about transcript for case 2024 CV0837 heard on January 14th. I left a message 3 days ago but haven't heard back. My appeal brief is due in 60 days, so I need to order the transcript as soon as possible. Please call me at your earliest convenience. Another 4 days pass. Still nothing. On January 22nd, Marcus calls the courthouse main administration line, gets transferred twice before finally reaching someone in court administration. Administration, Lorna Price speaking. The voice is cheerful and sing-song, the practiced warmth of customer service that may or may not reflect genuine friendliness. Good afternoon, Ms. Price. My name is Marcus Yale. I'm trying to order a transcript for an appeal, and I've left 2 messages for Mrs. Delacroix over the past week, but haven't received a callback. I was hoping you might be able to help me get in touch with her or provide an alternative way to order the transcript. Oh, Helen's probably just swamped right now. Lorna's tone is sympathetic but not particularly concerned. This is always a busy time of year with all the holiday cases getting processed, plus we're short-staffed because 2 of our clerks were out with the flu last week. I'll send Helen an email right now and ask her to give you a call back. I appreciate that very much. My appeal brief is due March 14th, so I need the transcript as soon as possible to have adequate time to prepare. I understand. I'll mark it as urgent in my email. She should get back to you within a day or 2. Thank you. Marcus hangs up. He doesn't feel reassured. Urgent to the court probably means something very different from what it means to him. 2 days later, on January 24th, Mrs. Delacroix finally calls. Marcus is in the middle of a work meeting when his phone buzzes. He glances at the caller ID, sees an unfamiliar number with the local area code, excuses himself from the meeting, and answers. This is Marcus. Mr. Yale, this is Helen Delacroix returning your call about a transcript. Her voice is pleasant, professional, giving no indication that she's kept him waiting for 10 days. Yes, thank you for getting back to me. I need the full transcript for case 2024 CV 08837, which was heard before Judge Reed on January 14th. All right, let me pull up my calendar and see what I've got. Pause. Marcus hears paper rustling, then keyboard clicking. Okay, traffic case, Judge Reed, January 14th. That was this Tuesday, correct? Yes, ma'am. Let me see. More keyboard sounds. Your case was probably about 15 to 20 minutes of actual testimony and argument. I'll need to review my audio recording to get an exact page count, but I'd estimate approximately 35 pages for the complete transcript. Our standard rate is $3.50 per page, so that comes to... Pause while she does the math. $122.50. Payment is required in advance before I begin transcription work. Marcus pulls out his notebook and writes this down. $122.50, plus the $215 he already paid for filing the appeal, plus the $250 fine he still owes. Nearly $600 total for a ticket that should never have been issued in the first place. What's the turnaround time? Standard production is 3 weeks from the date I receive your payment. Marcus does a quick mental calculation. 3 weeks from today would be mid-February. His brief is due March 14th, 60 days from the judgment date. That gives him less than a month to review the transcript, research and prepare his arguments, write the brief, and file everything properly. Tight, but doable. Is there an expedited option if I need it sooner? Yes, we offer 1-week expedited service. The rate for that is $7 per page. $7 per page times 35 pages. $245 just for the transcript on an expedited basis, nearly double the standard rate. Marcus exhales slowly. I'll go with standard service for now. How do I submit payment? I'll email you an invoice this afternoon. You can pay online with a credit card or mail a check. Once I receive confirmation of payment, I'll begin work on your transcript. Should be completed within 3 weeks of payment confirmation. When exactly should I expect to receive the completed transcript? If you pay today, you should have it by February 14th. That's 3 weeks from this Friday. Marcus writes this down. February 14th. Thank you. I'll watch for the invoice and pay as soon as I receive it. Is there anything else I can help you with? No, that's all. Thank you for your time. You're welcome, Mr. Yale. Have a good day. The invoice arrives in his email 3 hours later. Marcus pays it immediately, clicking through the online payment system and entering his credit card information. Takes a screenshot of the payment confirmation page showing the date, time, amount, and confirmation number. Saves it to his growing folder of documentation related to this case. Then he settles in for the 3-week wait. But 3 weeks pass, and February 14th arrives with no transcript. Marcus checks his email obsessively. Checks his mailbox twice a day. Nothing. On February 15th, he calls Mrs. Delacroix, gets voicemail, leaves a polite but firm message. Mrs. Delacroix, this is Marcus Yale. Today is February 15th. which is 1 day past your stated delivery date for the transcript in case 2024 CV 08837. I haven't received it yet. Please call me back to confirm the status and the new expected delivery date. No callback that day, or the next day, or the day after that. On February 18th, he calls again. This time, she actually answers. Delacroix Court reporting. Mrs. Delacroix, this is Marcus Yale calling about the transcript for case 2024 CV 08837. You told me it would be ready by February 14th, but I still haven't received it. Oh yes, Mr. Yale. I apologize for the delay. I'm running a bit behind schedule this month. I should have it completed and mailed to you by the end of next week. End of next week would be February 21st. That's another week delay on top of the 3 days I've already been waiting past your promised date. I understand your frustration, but I have several other cases ahead of yours that also have deadlines. I'm working as fast as I can. Marcus forces himself to remain calm and professional. Mrs. Delacroix, I paid for standard 3-week service. That service was supposed to be completed by February 14th. My appellate brief is due March 14th. I need adequate time to review the transcript and prepare my arguments. Is there anything that can be done to expedite this? Well, you could pay the difference between standard and expedited service, and I can try to prioritize it. But even then, I can't guarantee it'll be done faster at this point, since we're already past the original deadline. The logic is absurd. Marcus already paid for a service that was supposed to be delivered by a specific date. Now, because Mrs. Delacroix didn't deliver on time, he's being asked to pay more money for expedited service that wouldn't even be necessary if she'd done what she promised in the first place. But arguing about it won't help. I'll wait for standard service, but I need it by February 21st, as you just promised. If I don't receive it by then, I'll need to file a motion with the appellate court requesting an extension of my briefing deadline, and I'll need to explain in that motion that the delay was caused by the court reporter's failure to deliver the transcript on time. That's certainly your right, Mr. Yale. Her tone remains pleasant but utterly unhelpful. I'll do my best to have it to you by then. Marcus hangs up. He's not optimistic. He's right to be pessimistic. February 21st arrives with no transcript. On February 23rd, Marcus drafts a motion to extend his appellate briefing deadline. He explains the situation in careful, factual detail. Transcript ordered January 24th, payment confirmed same day, promised delivery, February 14th, actual delivery still pending as of February 23rd, includes copies of his payment receipt, the email invoice, his phone records showing multiple attempts to follow up. He files the motion on February 24th. Filing fee, $25. Everything costs money. The motion is granted on March 2nd. New briefing deadline, April 30th. 2 additional months. The transcript finally arrives on March 4th, delivered via certified mail. 6 weeks after payment, nearly 3 weeks after the promised delivery date, 2 weeks after Marcus filed his motion for extension. Marcus signs for the envelope, takes it inside, tears it open immediately. 38 pages, spiral-bound, printed on heavy paper with numbered lines. Each page has a header showing the case number, court name, date of hearing, and page number. He reads it that same evening, sitting at his kitchen table with a yellow highlighter and a red pen, going through it twice from start to finish. The transcript is perfect, not in the sense that it makes Marcus feel good, but in the sense that it's a precise, accurate record of everything that was said in that courtroom, and what it records is damning. Page 8, lines 12 through 31, captures Marcus's initial defense and Reed's immediate hostile response. Page 9 shows Reed cutting him off mid-sentence when he tried to present evidence. Page 11 shows Reed openly stating that he doesn't appreciate defendants trying to educate him about the law. Page 12 shows Reed threatening contempt when Marcus insisted on his right to present evidence. It's all there, preserved in black and white, the judicial misconduct that most people never see clearly because it happens so fast in the moment. But slowed down, transcribed word by word onto paper, it's unmistakable. Marcus reads these sections multiple times, his anger rekindling with each reading. This is wrong. This is obviously, unambiguously, wrong. A judge refused to review exculpatory evidence, threatened a defendant with contempt for citing legal precedent, and rendered judgment based on nothing more than his own bias and impatience. This has to mean something. This has to matter. Marcus spends the next 6 weeks preparing his appellate brief with the same meticulous attention to detail he applies to every important task. He researches extensively, reading dozens of Florida appellate decisions about trial court procedure, evidentiary standards, judicial misconduct, constitutional rights to present a defense. He organizes his research into categories: cases about refusing to consider evidence, cases about judicial bias, cases about due process violations. He writes and rewrites his brief, going through 8 complete drafts before he's finally satisfied. The final version is 21 pages, single-spaced, with 67 citations to Florida statutory law, case law, and constitutional provisions. His argument has 3 main points, each one developed with care and precision. First, the trial court committed reversible error by refusing to review video evidence that directly contradicted the citing officer's testimony. Multiple Florida appellate decisions have held that trial courts must consider all relevant evidence before rendering judgment, and that failure to do so constitutes an abuse of discretion. Second, the trial court committed reversible error by finding a violation of Florida Statute 316.155, when the undisputed evidence showed that no other traffic was present. Under the Florida Supreme Court's decision in State v. Johnson, the turn signal requirement only applies when other traffic may be affected, and where no such traffic exists, no violation can occur. Third, the trial court's hostile and dismissive treatment of appellant's attempt to present a legal defense violated appellant's constitutional right to due process under both the Florida and United States Constitutions. The transcript shows the trial judge repeatedly interrupted appellant, refused to consider his evidence, threatened him with contempt for citing statutory law, and made statements indicating he was offended by appellant's attempt to mount a defense. Marcus attaches exhibits: the dash cam video on a CD, printed still frames as color exhibits, Officer Platt's incident report, and the portions of the transcript that support his arguments. Everything properly labeled, properly referenced, properly organized. On April 26th, 4 days before the deadline, Marcus files his appellate brief. Filing fee: $30, because apparently everything in this system costs money. Then he waits. Again. Always waiting. The system moves at its own pace, grinding slowly through its processes, indifferent to the people caught in its machinery. Marcus knows appellate decisions typically take 6 to 9 months. He's prepared for a long wait. He goes back to his normal life: work, running, the daily routines that keep a person grounded. He tries not to think about the case constantly, though it's always there in the back of his mind, a low-grade anxiety that never quite goes away. But he doesn't get 6 months to wait. On May 4th, less than a week after filing his brief, Marcus receives a certified letter. He signs for it with a sense of foreboding. Nothing good ever comes this quickly from the court system. He opens it standing right there by his mailbox, not wanting to wait. It's not a decision from the appellate court. It's a summons, ordering him to appear before Judge Callan Reed on May 19th at 9 a.m. for a hearing regarding procedural matters related to your pending appeal. Marcus reads this 3 times, his confusion deepening with each reading. This doesn't make sense. He's already filed his appeal. The case should be entirely in the hands of the circuit court now, completely removed from Reed's jurisdiction. Under Florida appellate procedure, once a notice of appeal is filed and perfected, the trial court loses jurisdiction over the case except in very limited circumstances. He goes inside, opens his laptop, pulls up the Florida Rules of Appellate Procedure, reads Rule 9.1110, carefully paying particular attention to subsection B. The filing of a notice of appeal shall divest the lower tribunal of jurisdiction to proceed further with the cause, except the lower tribunal may 1. Take such action in aid of the appeal as may be required under these rules. The key phrase is, in aid of the appeal. What does that mean exactly? Marcus researches, reading legal commentary and case annotations. He finds that courts have interpreted this narrowly. Trial courts can correct clerical errors, can certify the record for transmission to the appellate court, can consider motions directly related to the appellate process. But they can't reconsider their judgments, can't take testimony, can't do anything that would undermine the appeal itself. So what is Reed up to? What procedural matter could possibly require Marcus's presence? Marcus calls the appellate clerk's office the next morning. Appellate Division. This is Marcus Yale, case 2024 CV08837. I filed a notice of appeal and my brief was accepted. Now I've received a summons ordering me to appear before the trial judge for a hearing about procedural matters. I'm confused about why I'm being called back to the trial court when I thought my case was now under circuit court jurisdiction. Hold on, let me pull up your file. Typing sounds. Pause. Okay, I see your appeal is properly filed and your brief is on the record. But there's a note here that Judge Reed requested a hearing regarding certification of the record. That would fall under the trial court's authority under Rule 9.110. What does certification of the record mean? The trial court has to certify that the record being transmitted to the circuit court is complete and accurate. Sometimes judges will hold a hearing to verify that all the necessary documents are included before officially certifying and sending it up. Is that common? Not particularly common, no. Most of the time, certification happens automatically once the transcript is filed and the clerk prepares the record. But it's not unprecedented for a judge to hold a hearing if they have concerns about whether the record is complete. If I don't appear at this hearing, what happens? The summons says failure to appear may result in dismissal of your appeal, so yes, potentially your appeal could be dismissed if you don't show up. Marcus writes this down. He's trapped. If he doesn't appear, his appeal could be dismissed. But if he does appear, he has to face Reed again, and something about this whole situation feels wrong. All right, thank you for the information. No problem. Good luck, Mr. Yale. Marcus hangs up, looks at the summons again. May 19th, 2 weeks away. He doesn't like this, doesn't trust it, but he doesn't have a choice. He'll go, but he'll be ready for whatever Reed has planned.